And welcome back to Square Debate. Well, violence continues in the Middle East over an anti-Islam film. How much of this film is really, is it about religion, and how much of it is about power or hatred for the West? And that's the subject for the panel today. Joining me from Los Angeles is Maryam Mahmoudine, and here in New York, award-winning author Carol Swain.
Hi. Her
most recent book, Be the People, A Call to Reclaim America's Faith and Promise. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Maryam, I want to start. Great, Maryam, I want to start with you because I always like to start with the person who's not in studio, just to bring you into the fold, sort of a kumbaya moment. So basically, is this protest about religion, or is it something else? What do you think?
I think, in general, all of the protests are more complicated than we can even imagine. There's so much that goes into it, and to simply say that it's about religion is simplifying the facts and simplifying the people and the problems too much. There's so many geopolitical problems, intercultural problems, religious problems, and on a whole, to say it's a religious issue means that this is something that's backed by the religion, or that this is something that the Muslim people believe. Mm-hmm. And it's not. This is against the religion of Islam, and it's been condemned by all Muslim leaders.
Yeah, so this film, and this has been debated too, is it about this film, or was it the original storming of the embassy in Libya and the killing of the ambassador? Was that really sparked by this film, or was it something else?
Well, from right now, what we know, and from all indicators, is that the only story, the information that we have, is that it was sparked by this film. This film was really powerful and very, honestly disgusting. It was such an insult to the religion, and it was created to incite this kind of reaction. When you look at from how it was filmed to how the actors were duped to how it was dubbed over, there was an intention behind this film. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate. And then also that the film, it's not even a film, it's a video. Now, the video was released a year ago, and then it was dubbed into Arabic, and then these reactions happened. It's saying that this was done for this audience to create this problem. Now, who or what organization or what group helped to spur it on, that's still being debated, that's still being researched. But to say that it's just the film, to say that it's just the religion, is just too simple of an answer to what's really going on there and the problems and what the countries are going through.
Okay. Carol, what do you think? Is this about religion, or is it something on a different level here?
I believe that there are people that are manipulating and inflaming the people, and you cannot remove the religious element that's involved. And what's very frightening for many of us is that people in the Islamic nations, they seem to be trying to impose their values on us, on people of other nations. It's totally inappropriate for them to try to censor other nations. I don't believe that anyone should deliberately try to inflame the Muslim people, but at the same time, they need to understand that in other nations, we do have constitutional rights. We believe in free speech, and we have the right to engage in creative output. And if the Muslim people who receive billions of dollars of federal aid from the United States, if they can't understand that and accept that, then I think we need to cut off the money and bring our people back home.
So can I ask?
Go ahead.
Who is the Islamic nation, and who are you speaking of? Because I'm Muslim and I'm American. And I don't think that I can be lumped into that category.
So you're offended by this film,
but
Maryam, I know you're offended by this film, but I don't see you protesting and rioting. That is a big difference.
But do you know something? One reason...
I agree, and the people who are protesting and rioting are a very small number of people. When you look at the estimate of Muslims living in the world is from 1 billion to 600 million. And how many are protesting? What, tens of thousands? I hardly think that accounts for me as a Muslim, for any American Muslim who's not out there protesting. When we're all standing here just this week, our organization, the Muslim Public Affairs Council, had a press conference with the Coptic Church of Los Angeles to say that we stand and condemn this violence. I don't see how this can be a general blanket and label over all Muslims and the Islam nation. Last time I checked, there wasn't an Islam nation.
Okay, so excuse me. The Muslims of the Middle East, because I thought that was the topic.
Yeah, exactly. That's really what it is.
And it seems to me that if we're going to give them billions of dollars of U.S. aid, then at the same time we need to be educating them to understand that in the West, in other nations, we have constitutional rights. And one reason where Muslims in the U.S. may not be rioting and protesting is that, I mean, clearly they are minority. And it wouldn't even make sense for them to do that. And I don't believe our U.S. government should be apologizing and criticizing the filmmaker, because part of America is about freedom of speech, freedom of associations, freedom of religion. And what we need is for Muslims to be condemning the violence against Christians and Jews that are taking place in the Middle East, and we need the president to be condemning it, not apologizing for a film.
Okay, Miriam.
Well, I'm sorry, but the thing is that the film was done to incite violence, and any kind of hate crime, or any kind of hate speech, be against Jews, Christians, or Muslims, should be condemned. And the thing is that to say that the Muslims don't understand that Americans have constitutional rights is such an oversimplification of the situation that's there. Do they understand our rights? Probably not. They're not Americans and they don't live here. You have to understand that these countries where this all started were under dictatorships for 30 to 40 years. They are now at a process where they're changing and evolving and getting these rights, that things that they were denied for decades. They lived in fear. And to say that this is such a simple thing that, well, they need to understand this, you're right. They need education. There needs to be an education of that this was not a government-sanctioned movie in America, that we do have freedom of expression. And I strongly believe in our First Amendment rights, but there's a limit to how much that's going to, not a limit, but there should be a conscientious way of thinking that you can't, just in California alone, we've passed a law that you cannot talk about certain countries on campus, about Israel.
That's awful. That's terrible.
Israel on campus. Yes,
but this is a freedom of speech issue. I've got to bring up the fact that you've got a lot of art and film in this country that bash a lot of, mainly Christianity. You've got the Book of Mormon that won 9 Tony Awards on Broadway. It's opening up in Los Angeles. You've got stories, the Da Vinci Code, we just talked about that. That certainly not only gets at Christianity, but it also demeans the very core element of Christianity. So, I mean, you don't see these protests in America over these kinds of films. There's a different understanding of what constitutes freedom of speech. It is sort of the turn the other cheek. Why do we see this in Islamic countries?
So, so you brought up a really good point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right, you brought up a good point, because that was this country, and those are those countries. You can't compare, it's apples and oranges. But we can't compare the status of the two. But to add to that as well, I just saw a political cartoon this morning where it showed some Muslims protesting, peaceful protest, and then the political cartoon showed journalists and media not filming them and saying, "Oh, where are the rioters?" So there's something to be said about what's going to be on camera and what's not on camera. I mean, there was thousands of Libyans who came out, and actually several that helped to save the ambassador and pulled him out of the embassy. And then there was thousands who protest the next day saying, "This is not who we are." But how much media play did that get?
All right, I have to wrap it up right now, but I want to thank you very much both for being here. And you know, we're probably going to talk about this much more again. Thank you very much. Mariam Mahudeen, a communication coordinator for the Muslim Public Affairs Council in Los Angeles, and Carol Swain, author and columnist and general commentator and Vanderbilt University professor and author of Be the People, a call to reclaim America's faith and promise. Thank you both for being here.
Thank
All right,
you.
We'll be